Hey everybody, sorry, did not forget about you. For drop spindling, I just had a lot of, had kids that had to go to school. This is for spinning thin, and I actually started this with some Rolog fiber. You can use I'll show it on a different type, but that's what this had started on, but you can see it's fine. It's the same general tips of what I gave with the wheel, but just applied on the drop spindle. So, you want to draft your fiber down thin. Maybe even, I would really recommend going through and pre-drafting it because especially with the drop spindle spinning thin, it's going to break on you if you're having to really like wrestle with it while you're spinning. So you probably want just real, fine pre-drafted little pieces of fiber. And if you're attaching, you take one fluffy end and the other fluffy end and just kind of put the drafted fiber over your wrist. And you need a good bit of twist to, glue the fibers together thinly. So, get a good bit of twist in there. And then if you're doing the under your armpit method, stick it there. And then you're going to pull it. This is where the pre-drafting comes in handy and my arms are short. You're pulling it pretty much as thin as you can and then letting that twist run up it. And here my arms got too short, so I got to wrap it on here. Said make sure you're always going the same way. You'll get some more twist built up in there. But like I said, it's the same idea, just really pre-draft your fiber. And you're just going to be pulling it as thin as you can and then letting the twist up fiber. And then wrap it down back onto your drop spindle. If you're letting it drop down to the floor as you're spinning, same idea. Get it spinning. Oh, don't let it do that. That is a good example of letting your fiber wrap around your yarn, which is not what you want. Make sure you're holding, it's very thin, so, you don't want it to come apart. Get it spinning. And then, I prefer spinning thin this way. Actually, there it goes again. See, I'm not having, not having a good day. Don't let it do that. Don't let it grab your fiber supply. But I actually find it easier to spin thin letting it drop down to the floor as opposed to doing the park and draft method. So if you are at all comfortable with, there we go. Now I look like I know what I'm doing. If you're at all comfortable with just letting it spin and drop, see, I'm just pulling it thin and letting the weight of the spindle pull it thin. There it goes, and it drops. Spinning thin on a drop spindle, there'll be more dropping of the drop spindle involved. So you're either really going to have to get a lot of twist in it and then stick it under your arm if you don't want it to drop, or you'll probably be reattaching some. I personally find it easier to spin thinner on a wheel, so that is my preference. But like I said, if you are spinning thin on a drop spindle, letting it spin while dropping down to the floor is probably easier. So sorry that's not the best example, but those are my tips. Just strip out the fiber, pre-draft it, and then you want to get the weight, just let the weight of the drop spindle pull down on your fiber as you're drafting it thin, and you got to keep enough twist in there to keep it together. So that is, like I said, you can also use Rologs for spinning thin. That's what I'd actually been started out with spinning thin, was from these Rologs from the other day. So good luck, and I'll see you in the group.